Now we're going to work on adding hallways, bases, and tunnels using a couple tools here because places have hallways, and I assume that you're going to want to build one at some point in your map. So let's select a wall here. Let's tessellate it down a bit. Always remember you can check your wireframe to see how that tessellation is working out. And I'm just going to adjust the vertices here to make it a little bit more square. There, that's better. So I'm going to select these two. Let's use rotation to make this a little bit more flat in the wall. Okay. In order to make a tunnel out of this wall, or a hallway out of a base, or whatever you want to call it, we're going to go over to the top right corner right here and click Extrude. And there are two ways you can do this. You can activate Extrude, where you'll see this selected as blue, and then click and drag on the faces you want, and you'll see that nice tunnel forming. Or you can type in a number here, like 100. You'll see that extruded the opposite direction. Or you can simply click and move up and down. And I like this method a lot more because I can see what I'm doing, and if you end up scrolling past the bottom of your screen, you end up going back to the top. It's a very nice 3D Studio Max trick. So I can end up stretching it a lot more than I could clicking on the actual polygon. So I'm going to put our tunnel this deep in. Along with my conversation on normals and how they all have to face the same side and all those, the 3 rules, do not extrude a tunnel backwards through itself. Because if you do something like this, it's going to create all sorts of nastiness. You see, we got normals facing the wrong way here. We got multiple edges here. It's really a nightmare. So just don't do that. Oh. Remember that you can combine your tools pretty effectively in situations like this. Right now I'm going to turn the outermost face of this tunnel right here. Then I'm going to go to extrude, and I'm going to extrude it again. And this is a quick way of getting a curved tunnel. So I'm just going to keep on extruding. I think that's about good. And we have over here, if I can get my zoom working, our base. Or rather, how about we make this a field? And I'll show you right now how to make a base into this field. Let's click on the ground. Again, let's tessellate it a couple times. Edge versus face center doesn't matter. It's really up to what you want to do. I used edge because it gives you the squares, which I wanted for a square tunnel. Let's try face center now. And you'll see it gives you this weird, more flower or star-like pattern. That's not exactly what I want for a base either. I do want the squares. So I'm going to go back to edge, tessellate it by edge, and just keep doing that until I get a nice square area. I think this is about as close as I can get. Right about here. If you're wondering, yes, this is a very inefficient way of getting a square into a flat surface, but I'm going to cover a couple things before I show you the simple and good-looking way of doing it without adding a bunch of triangles into your flat surfaces. So first let me just demonstrate these simple tools, and then we'll go into adding geometry like that into a plane. So let's bevel this now. And just like with the extrude tool, you can click on here and click on it, or use the numbers, or use the arrows. I'm going to click on it right here to show you. It's basically like extrude, except that once you've extruded it, it also allows you to change the size of the top. You can emulate this just by using the scale tool and the extrude tool together, I find. But sometimes it's easier just to have control over it like this. So there's our little base you can imagine in the middle of a field. And we can give it a little door if we wanted to even. I usually recommend all the time, don't forget to scale your maps. I'm not scaling this one since it's only for a demonstration. So you're just going to have to use your imagination on to the use of doors and such. So there. Super quick, kind of ugly base, but you get the point. When you're building your map, you can go ahead and use the things you just learned, move the vertexes, make it look more square or whatever. But this is really a super fast way of getting a base into a field. Finally, this is a lot less terrain changing as it is for decoration, I find. But you also might want to, for some corners or whatever, you might want to chamfer your edges. And you'll see that instead of bevel, when we had polygon selected, when we have edge selected, we now have chamfer where bevel was. And what that's going to do is it's going to create two edges parallel to each other where that one edge previously was. This is kind of sensitive here. But you can see the effect it's having. I need to click out of it and just change it by number, I think, because it's really sensitive on that. There we go. So you'll see, instead of having these really sharp corners, now you have that. And I'll change this one as well, so you can get a really interesting looking base. And it's worth noting you can also chamfer vertexes. So if you see where this vertex meets at a point right here, you can even soften that up. Do believe I accidentally cut. You want to make sure you don't accidentally poke holes in your map when doing this. So I'm going to just leave it like that. But you can see this is also helpful if you want to, now we have a triangle here that we can mess with along with all that. So it's not a very good looking base, but it is something that just demonstrates all the tools you can use for whatever you want.